It's now clear that both Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow Daybell are suspected of killing Chad's wife, Tammy, in October of last year. This letter from the Idaho State Attorney General's office lists Chad and Lori as defendants against possible charges of conspiracy, attempted murder, and murder. The letter is in agreement that the state is taking over the prosecution in the Tammy Daybell case. Chad was previously married to Tammy, a healthy 49-year-old mother of 5. She died in her sleep in October of last year. 10 days before her untimely death, Tammy reported that a stranger wearing a mask came up to her trying to fire a gun.
And the gun didn't go off, and she thought it was a paintball gun. She didn't know her guns, obviously. Okay, so then 10 days later, she's dead.
At the time, there was no autopsy performed on Tammy's remains.
The family did not want an autopsy, so they just went straight to the funeral home, and the family refused an autopsy.
This is a recorded phone conversation obtained by Fox 13 in Salt Lake between an Idaho dispatcher and a detective from Arizona investigating the death of Charles Vallow.
The family said they don't want an autopsy, therefore the coroner just signed off then and there, and then the funeral home took Miss Daybell. Is that how that works?
Yes, that's pretty much how it works.
That decision by the Daybells to refuse an autopsy could have been overruled by authorities, but it wasn't. 2 months after her death, Tammy's remains were exhumed and examined and tested. Results have not been released. Adding to the suspicion surrounding Tammy's death, less than 3 weeks after Tammy died, Chad and Lori were married, and Lori's wedding ring was purchased by Lori on Amazon 17 days before Tammy was dead. Lori Vallow Daybell remains jailed in Rexburg, Idaho, facing charges of child abandonment. Her children, Tylee, 17, and JJ, just 7, have not been seen since September of last year. Lori is also the focus of an investigation in Arizona into the death of her ex-husband, Charles. Chad Daybell has not been charged, but that could change, and this letter would suggest the crime alleged is the murder of his wife.
Wow. You talk about what this case is about. It's about so many different things all at the same time. You've got all these investigations. Now the state taking over that investigation. Let me bring in my partners in crime and justice, Seema Iyer, Julie Grant, and Ted Rowlands back with us. Ted, let's start first with the autopsy that wasn't. I mean, when she first dies, she's healthy, 49. She just dies? Makes no sense.
Well, and the Daybells at the time, I'm sure Chad leading the way, said, oh, no, we don't need an autopsy. Let's just lay Tammy to rest. The problem is the coroner didn't see anything suspicious at the time. And so the coroner signed off on that. Ultimately, that decision isn't, of course, up to the family members, but it's up to the coroner. However, if family members are concerned, if family members say, why did this 49-year-old mother of 5 just drop? They could have absolutely pushed for an autopsy. Clearly, they didn't, and most likely Chad was in the driver's seat.
Okay, I believe out of the 4 of us, only one of us has been there for a bunch of autopsies, and I know it wasn't me. I believe it was Seema Iyer. Seema, what do you think they can get from the autopsy at this point? They've exhumed her body, haven't released any results. How much information do you think they'll be able to get?
Well, first of all, I just want to point out that getting an autopsy is an excruciatingly traumatic procedure for family members. So when it's not criminally related, I saw this a lot. You know, families will push back because they don't want to. It's horrible to bury someone who you know has been adulterated by pathologists, right? So you're trying to preserve the body and you're trying to present the body in a way that you can show it respect. So I understand why. But of course that we know that Chad had some nefarious intent. Now that the body has, decomposed significantly, it is a problem because when you conduct an autopsy, okay, you are taking out organs, you are taking pieces of organs to be tested, plus you're taking fluids. So all the fluids from bile to blood, feces, urine, every single fluid is being tested, and all different tissues are being tested. So on its face, you may look at a piece of the liver and say, oh, this looks like a perfectly healthy liver. It weighs the right amount. It has the right color. But upon testing, perhaps they would find maybe the liver's been poisoned. Maybe Tammy Daybell was poisoned. The problem now is all of these bodily fluids have decomposed and the body is decomposed, that there may not be enough to test anymore.
So JJ's grandparents, the Woodcocks, Tammy, have their own theory about what may have happened to Tammy. Let's take a listen.
And then October the 19th, just one of those things, God just took her because he needed her more than she needed to be on earth. And then golly, Alex just died.
Yeah.
You know?
What did you think when you heard that Tammy had died? And then Alex?
Well, I knew Tammy died right shortly thereafter because Brandon and I were talking, and Brandon, when he found out, he let me know. And he and I both knew that was, oh my God, they're killing everybody along the way. And so with that, we knew it was too coincidental to be not being manipulated in any way, shape, or form. It was a manipulation to the nth degree. And the fact that, however, I don't know if with Tammy, I would say she got poisoned because that seems to be something they like to do. And Lori has spoken of it, poisoning.
When did you speak of it?
Oh, it's just been over the years.
Who talks about, Julie Grant, who talks about this stuff? She's talking about poisoning people.
Right, I'm horrified. I know you saw my face just now. That was shocking. And Ted, great job with that interview. I mean, who does that? Cult mom. That's who does that. Cult mom. I mean, the woman whose kids have been missing since September, and I mean, 3 deaths, and they're all people in her life or in Mr. Doomsday's life. I'm truly sick, and you can't blame those grandparents for thinking that. How sinister that she would talk about that through the years. Hopefully prosecutors get a hold of anything and everything where she made reference to that. And to that great point Seema made earlier, I hope it's not too late to get some answers in Tammy Daybell's death, because that was my first thought. And Seema, I appreciate you answering that question. When they're exhuming her body now, are there things that they just cannot possibly get an answer to because of the time that has passed, and is poisoning potentially one of them?
Yeah, that's going to be, I think, a challenge, a true challenge here.
Well, what there might be,
all these bodies.
There could be a digital footprint talking about getting the poison or talking about it. That could be key, because if they have that combined with a dead person, and Alex, remember him, Alex, the brother, Alex Cox, he also died mysteriously. That digital footprint, I think, is going to be key.
Charles Vallow, Lori's husband, died, and we know that there were cameras that were worn by the officers who responded to the scene. You mentioned Alex. Alex is the one who supposedly shot and killed Charles Vallow. He said self-defense. Let's take another look at that body cam footage, because it reveals, we're just going to show you 12 seconds now. We've got a lot more that we're going to show you later in the week, but it does reveal a lot.
I turned around, and he hit me in the back of the head with a bat. So I went to my room and got my gun.
How long have you lived here?
Like 3 weeks.
Oh, geez. Yeah, okay.
That's why the neighbors took the list.
Nothing like giggling after your husband is shot by your brother.
Everyone says this about her, Vinny, though. She's so inappropriate, right?
Yes.
Let me ask.
Yeah.
The part of this, there's all these dead bodies, right? And I'm wondering if there are trials, right? Do they have to do it one at a time? And does the jury in one not hear about the missing kids and the dead husband? In the other one, do they not hear about the dead spouse and the missing kids? And when you're talking about the missing kids, do they not hear about the dead brother and the dead spouses? How do they handle all of that, Julie?
Yeah, well, we know we have different jurisdictions, right? So Charles Vallow's death is in Arizona. We know Tammy Daybell's death is in Idaho. Alex Cox's death is in Arizona. And we know the kids went missing from Idaho, potentially, who knows if it was Yellowstone National Park. They really haven't pinpointed where they've been last seen. But we do know she's charged and held in Idaho right now. And I've got a lot of faith in those investigators. So that's a great question, Vinny. I mean, I guess it depends on what goes when, what case might go first. I mean, who knows what they're going to wind up with. I think this is going to be big. I think big things are coming for Mr. and Mrs. Doomsday. I think we need to just wait, be patient, let this investigation shake out. And to that excellent point Ted made, the digital footprint, I think that's what they're going over now for all of this, right? Because two of these people who could share the story, Charles Vallow and Alex Cox, are dead. And if Alex Cox were alive, he might be facing charges based on that investigation. Who knows? It wasn't a shut case.
Absolutely. Seema Iyer, Ted Rowlands, Julie Grant, thank you all so much.